Welcome, everyone. This is the February 3rd, 2026 meeting of the Board of County Commissioners. Please let the record reflect that in the conference room, we have Commissioners Waldriff, French, and Kearns. I know we should be joined a little later this morning by Commissioner CUNY, and Commissioner Jordan is out today. We're going to lead off on our agenda with Mike Burgess, County Lobbyist, with an update from Olympia.
Morning, commissioners. If you'd like, I'll just jump right into where we're at. As you know, most of the time when I start the call, tell you where we are in session. We're approaching one of the biggest days, the policy committee cutoff, which is our first cutoff on the 4th. So that's Wednesday. So this is essentially bills, whether they cost money or not, have to make it from their policy committee. And those that do cost money will then go to the fiscal committee. And that cutoff is on the 9th. So a few of the bills we're going to talk about today I'd have to think through whether or not they'll go to the fiscal committee or not. But there'll be hearings later this week in the fiscal committees, and then likely on Saturday hearings as well. And then that, like I said, that cutoff is on Monday, the 9th. You'll see the note there where I mentioned the income tax bill. That's clearly been getting a lot of press. The bill language is not out yet. I think it will be today, later today or tomorrow for the bill numbers are there. The bill language just hadn't posted online as of this morning. And I wasn't putting this on there as though I wanted you to read through it or anything. I just wanted to call out one thing that's in the bill that's interesting. In terms of where the revenue goes, 5% of the revenue generated from the income tax bill would go to public defense funding for counties. Not asking for your reaction to that, but just wanted to make you aware that that provision was in there, and you may read about it in the paper or not, but just throwing that out so you're aware of it. The next bill on the list is Senate Bill 6239. This bill deals with tort claims, and I'm sorry, commissioners, I made a note. Somebody might have brought this up last week in terms of one that we'd like to support. Am I correct in that? Do you remember?
Was it someone from, who brought it up? A staff person?
So Ron, there's a link there to the bill report in my first email to you.
Or risk
I mean,
management. I can't remember who brought it to our attention last week.
This is requiring arbitration for tort claims against the state of Washington and its
but you all are lumped into that.
Mike, that's the one I emailed you on before last Monday.
Oh,
and then it
okay.
didn't get brought up here, and then I brought it up. Our risk manager asked that the county support it.
That's right.
I gave a short briefing on it, and there was Kristen supporting it to help reduce liability for the county.
Okay, so commissioners, I'll just add that to the support list. And that bill did move from committee, and I think it's got a hearing set in Ways and Means. Or no, let's see. What's my number there? 6239. It did. Yeah, it's moved from committee. It's moved to Ways and Means. So that's where it needs to be. So, okay. The next one, 2489. Ron, if you can bring up that bill report. This is the bill that deals with public camping. It is a bill that preempts cities and counties, subdivisions authority to deal with the public camping issue. I just think, obviously, it's a complicated issue, but on balance, you all have been opposed. And I mean, this is a bill that takes away local control, all of those types of things. Wanted to make you aware, the bill has moved out of the House Housing Committee yesterday. And I'd anticipate it to continue to bump its way along, at least through the House. Maybe not, but anyway, I don't know if you have any comments on that one, if you wanted to stake out a position, but again, wanted to make you aware because it does get after local control issues, and that's always something that's on your legislative agenda.
I would be opposed to it.
I likewise will be opposed to it.
Is this the one that goes back?
it takes
Just
away
the-
the ability to put in camping
For
van.
your local, okay.
Preempts local authority.
Yeah, I don't think it's a good bill, because I think every community should be able to make those decisions and shape it for their own community.
Okay.
If they
Um,
want it, they can, if they don't, they don't.
I think that gives me what I need. Thank you. I'll add it to our list as one that we would
You know,
oppose.
Did the city also, is the city of Spokane opposing it? Cause it would change their local ordinance?
If I remember right, Commissioner this bill's not new, or this concept of this bill. There was a different bill last year. I believe they did last year, but I don't want to speak for them. I know.
Mike, can I ask, did you watch the hearing that they had on this?
No, I haven't. And
Oh, okay.
I can go back and look at the bill report. But generally, in cases like this, it's the Association of Cities and the county that weigh in, on behalf of those local governments. Some individual local governments, I think, did. But I don't know if the city of Spokane did or not.
Okay. Yeah,
Is Wasac opposing ordinance?
So.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Wasac's opposing
Okay.
it, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm surprised when I look at the bill report, usually something that had a hearing as long ago as this did, it lists who signed in opposed to the bill, and it's not there. Yeah.
You
it's
are
just-
correct, sir. Well, wait a minute. I might
Bill
have sent you
summary.
the. Did I send? Yeah, you're right. They haven't updated the bill report yet.
That's weird, because the hearing was back on the 20th.
It was. You are correct. Okay. If we can transition then to the bill list, and updates on other ones that we've talked about throughout session. 2201 there at the top. That's the one that dealt with the development regulations in the urban growth area. The bill hasn't moved. It's not scheduled for exec. So, chances are it could be scheduled, but my guess is this is going to drop off our list. The bill won't make it out of committee, would be my guess. Like it still has a day or, still has today and tomorrow, to pass, but it's not scheduled at this point. The next bill, the Aquifer Recharge Area bill, the Senate version is the one moving, so that's further down, 6016. It did move from committee. Doesn't look like the House version is going to move, but that's okay because the Senate one is moving forward. On the waste to energy bill, it's going to be voted from committee today, or it's scheduled to be voted from committee today. There's a substitute bill that makes some changes to it. I haven't checked with the city to know that if these are amendments that they asked for or are having to take, but I believe it gives more of a kind of a ramp down, for the compliance. There's changes to the bill, and what I can do if you're interested, commissioners, I can send you the substitute bill. In the beginning of it, it will have an update on, or it'll have kind of details of what those changes are. I can read you a few because I'm looking at it now. It exempts emissions from the waste to energy facility used by county city government. Requires the owner or operator of the facility to achieve relative to a 2014 through 2016 baseline the following greenhouse gas reductions: 20% by 2030, 70% by 2040, 95% by 2050. So if the way it was explained to me, it changes the original bill and gives more of a time frame for the emission standards to be met. But I'll message this to you too so you can see it. But have you heard anything on your end from the city about it?
No.
Okay. Well, I think it's at a minimum, I think it's good news that the bill looks like it's going to be moving forward today, or it should, if it's scheduled for a vote.
When Commissioner Jordan and I were in Olympia 2 weeks ago, we met with Representative Hill.
Yeah.
She just indicated there was a couple different pathways that she was assuming there'd be some changes to it. And there was a couple different pathways that were being discussed, and she was open to either. So maybe this was one of those
Yeah, at one point the committee chair had let me know too that they wanted to get something done and are working on it. So I mean, maybe this sub is the byproduct of that. But like I said, I will message it to you so you can see what it says. The next one is the tax increment financing bill. That's the one that we're trying to get ourselves amended into. I'm still working on that. Might have some difficulty though because of the way the bill title's drafted and the RCWs that are mentioned in the bill title. And there's just some internal rules here about whether or not we can do that. So still working on that bill. The data centers tax issue that we talked about last week was introduced. It did have a hearing scheduled Friday, but that hearing did not happen. And at this point, the bill is not scheduled for a hearing. So that needs to happen for that bill to move forward. We talked about the recharge area bill, and then waste energy at the bottom. But then the second one from the top or the bottom there, 6026. Ron, I sent you another email. Sorry to throw this at you. That's got a link to the bill or the substitute bill language. I would have sent it right before 9. Because commissioners, this is the bill we talked about where, like it says, you're going to allow residential development in commercial zones. And you had expressed some concerns about it, just kind of different things in terms of I think one of the things you mentioned was, does it have enough, transportation infrastructure to support this? I think you had mentioned that not all commercial zones are the same. Right here that Ron's bringing up, that's the effect statement of the changes that were made in the bill. I don't know enough from my glance at it this morning if this addresses some of those concerns. As skimming it, I don't think it does. I think it just looks like it puts more prohibitions on what you can and can't do. I don't need your comment today on this, but maybe I'll talk to Scott a little bit more about this. Chesney, to see where it's at compared to current law or rules or standards that you all have. Or, I mean, obviously, I would take any input you have now as you're glancing through this, but I know I'm throwing this at you right now. And you haven't had a chance to digest it.
All of those things can be controlled at the local level. Why is the state trying to dictate what cities and counties can do?
Is this the TIF one,
No, this is the
the data center?
No,
No.
this is the one about allowing for residential.
Oh, the
housing.
residential.
right.
So just at your
I
first
can't
glance, then,
remember.
commissioners, it doesn't look like this addressed some of the concerns that you had brought up.
Not really.
I can't see it on the screen. I
Okay.
think I need better.
Yeah, Commissioner. Okay, tell you what, I will shoot this link to you to, like I said, I just noticed the substitute bill this morning. So I should have thrown it to you in a better fashion than this. So how about I do that? And like I said, I mentioned Scott would be the person I should talk to about this.
Yeah.
Probably, yeah.
Okay. I'll have a conversation with Scott and then we'll bring it back up next week. That bill, it moved from committee or scheduled to, it's scheduled. Yeah, it moved last week and then it's been referred to Ways and Means. So it's got a hearing on the 5th. So from there, it would have to go to the floor. So there's still time to comment as we talk next week. So I'll make sure this is on the list again next week, and we'll have provided you that link and had a conversation with Scott. So maybe you'll have more information about it, or more of an ability to provide an opinion at that point.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Okay. Our list will start to shrink as we get to this cutoff. And then, like I mentioned, the fiscal committee is on the 9th. The floor cutoff is on the 17th. And then towards the end of the month, we'll see a budget and we'll start looking at capital budgets and operating budgets and just the different things that could or couldn't happen in that budget in terms of cuts and different things and the concern about passing, state functions down to your level, impacting your budget and whatnot. So,
All right.
Mike,
yes, Commissioner.
so last week, the Board of Health here we did pass a resolution encouraging, the state not to do further cuts to the foundational
Oh.
public health services, and that's on our
Yeah.
agenda. We have a resolution, Commissioner Cuny and I put a resolution on our 2 p.m. for today. With a similar message, and also trying to do a fix for the vapor tax problem.
Okay.
Vape tax problem. Have you heard, I participated in a Wasalfo legislative update call on Friday.
Mm-hmm.
And there's 4 bills, 2 in the House, 2 in the Senate, that are trying to do fixes with the cigarette or vape tax. The one that they like the best, Wasalfo, is Robinson's Bill 6129.
Okay.
But anyway, I think they're trying to figure out how we fix the problem that was created, I guess, unintentionally at the end of the last session, where all the vapor tax dollars were supposed to go to public health, but they
Yeah.
redefined it as nicotine, and then it went to the general fund. So, whoops.
Okay, I'll reach out to the Wasalfo folks and get my head around it. I know there's a handful of bills that deal with cigarette, vape tax and all those things, but I don't know what the rate changes are or what the intricacies of the bill. So thank you for that. And then
Yeah, the
if-
impact from the loss of those dollars plus the governor's proposed cuts.
Right.
Is about $2 million to the Spokane Regional Health District. So it's.
Yeah, you had mentioned that when you were here, Commissioner, or when we talked on the phone. So
Yeah.
thanks
got
for
the
that.
dollar
But
amount. We figured that out last week. So
Okay.
it depends, like, it's give or take. But that's why we're really concerned about those cuts, because we already took a cut and they're already making cuts this year anyway from the last year of the first year of the biennium.
so that at 2 p.m. it sounds like a resolution could be adopted.
Yep, it's on our.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
I guess once that happens, can that get shared with me?
Yeah, we can have this right over.
Thank you.
And we'll send both of them to Wasalfo, because they've been
Okay.
collecting all the resolutions across the state.
All right, we'll look at your inboxes here in a little bit, as though you don't have anything else to read. I'll give you stuff from that waste to energy bill, and then that development the commercial zone development bill.
Thanks.
So,
Okay.
Mike,
Yes, sir.
before I go, did we have a conversation with regard to the clean air and the state legislature funding MATCA so that that funds a lot of the programs that clean air agencies across the state provide?
You mentioned it. You did mention it to me, Commissioner. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I think that would be something though, right, Commissioner? It should be more reflective when we see what the operating budget proposals look like.
Okay. All righty, thank you.
Okay. Thank you all.
Thank you, Mike. All right, next up on our agenda, Tori Peterson from Juvenile.
Yes, good
Take it away.
morning. I am here briefing you this morning on our contract with DCYF, more specifically juvenile rehabilitation. And this is for the housing of kids that are under JR's jurisdiction. You may recall we held off on signing the contract that really is effective. And this does go back to July 1 of 2025. We held off wanting to get closer to our actual costs, and they would not sign. We were advised to go ahead and sign this at the $250 a day. Previously, it was $150 a day. And then we will soon begin negotiations for the bed rate moving forward July 1 of this year. We're hoping to get closer, and it looks like we will, JR. This is a statewide issue, these bed rates. And DCYF is doing some cost analysis and modeling. And it looks like at this point, we might be closer to 325, 350 moving forward. Or that's at least the starting number for negotiations. There's about 100 bed days a year. We serve the JR kids anywhere between 90 to 110 days. So we're not talking huge amounts of money, but we want to get closer to our actual costs, which have increased significantly.
Any questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next up, Matt Zarecor. Got Argonne Road Freight Active Transportation Safety Project Build Grant.
Morning, commissioners. Thank you for having us this morning. Matt and Randy Collier here, Capital Projects Administrator, to walk you through a build grant for the Argonne area.
Yeah, I'll take this one. So, good morning. The build program, so this is for the Argonne Road Freight Active Transportation and Safety Project. The build program is a USDOT federal grant program that supports basically larger transportation infrastructure projects. This is the same grant we got funded for in 2018 for the Geiger Road projects out on the West Plains. We like this program because it has an opportunity to fund our regionally significant, higher cost, multifaceted projects that kind of have untraditional funding a lot of the times to support multiple phases. And then these projects don't usually look very good to our traditional funding partners just because of the cost and complexity. So we can usually fund project components with our traditional state funding partners, but not the project as a whole. So we're working with our current consultant for the Argonne Upriver Planning Study to submit this grant application by the due date of February 24th. You can put the next slide on for me. So this slide, while it's a little small in the map, shows the different project components that will go into our application. There's a number of projects on this proposal that are already on the Argonne Road and Centennial Trail for our 6-year plan. So those projects include some reconstruction and preservation projects all the way from the Spokane River Bridge up to the Bigelow intersection. It includes the intersection at Argonne and Upriver, that safety and capacity improvement. It includes stormwater improvements and projects for the length of the corridor. We have a lot of stormwater flooding issues along that corridor when it rains, causing safety and maintenance issues for us. So that project also has the opportunity to provide for our typical ADA ramp improvements, sidewalk gap updates. It will allow us to realign the Centennial Trail off the arterials, which provides a safety conflict. And our preferred alternative with the study was to allow for a separated grade crossing of the trail at Baringo. So we're going to propose that as well as part of the project. Next slide, please. So just this slide breaks down the funding for us. The project total at a whole is about $40 million. We are requesting the full build max amount, which is $25 million for this application. We have previously, through accepted grants, secured about $7 million of the necessary funding for the project. That includes our NHFP, our FMCIP, and our Transportation Improvement Board projects. Those last two for the preliminary engineering and right away of the Argonne Road, as well as the Centennial Trail alignment on the west side, are both state funds. And so the good timing opportunity here is we haven't started those projects. And so those projects provide match to the federal funds, which is a good opportunity for us anytime we go for a federal grant, especially of this size. This leaves about $7.8 million of unsecured funding. We'll show that as committed funding with plans to pursue future grant opportunities. The team's listed out some grant opportunities there that expected near future NOFOs that we plan will come out and we'll submit for. We'll actually submit for those grant opportunities regardless of how this opportunity pans out for us. Next slide. So we've broken down the project into about 16 different project components. This is an opportunity to show the cost for each phase, as well as provide for project phasing if we need to in construction, and just constructability in the estimate. And next slide, please. So this is our last slide. The project schedule is here shown here, it starts in 2027. That's just the establishment of the grant agreement when funded and through the total construction, but it also shows our ability to deliver the project by the construction obligation deadline of September of 2030. So if we need to, we can phase the construction, but as demonstrated here, we can complete the full project as required. One last thing I just want to share with you that wasn't on this slide, but to the south of the project maps, there's a lot of support for this corridor as we have a number of projects through our stakeholder jurisdictions, the DOT, STA, Millwood, the City of Valley, all have projects to the south of this. There are current projects that show support and just investment in the corridor from our project through I-90. So that's all I have. If you have any questions.
I guess mine would be, Kyle, I thought you were going to be seeking a raised grant as opposed to a built grant.
That's the new name of the same program.
Oh, really? Oh,
Yes.
oh, okay.
And
Okay.
I forget which it is which year because
Okay.
it's gone back and forth.
So same thing.
Tiger originally.
Yeah. Tiger raised
Okay.
build. We'll find another one here if we love our.
Yeah.
We changed the name to protect the innocent.
You play a lot of word over 5 other words.
Any questions?
I think it's a great opportunity.
Yeah, no,
I mean, we think we can make that timeframe.
I think we can.
Pretty aggressive,
We're-
right, for the acquisition.
We're really lucky in that we had our two major studies of this corridor completed within the last. So we have all the data, we're not starting to scratch and go gather everything. Those, I mean, it could take, a year or 2 years to really get everything together. And all our deliverables just kind of landed at the right time. And we've already got some of those preliminary grant awards, just kind of everything kind of lined up all at once here for us. And I think we've got a really cool opportunity.
All right. Sounds good.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, George Dahl. And Chris.
Yeah, so we're here to just provide a brief update on some changes that are being made to the Way Out Center contract. So this is a contract passed by the commissioners back in 2001. It was a contract with the Salvation Army in partnership with the city of Spokane. When it was set up as kind of a dual purpose shelter. And we've been taking a look at some of the performance metrics and we're making some adjustments to the contract in partnership with the Salvation Army and the city of Spokane. So Chris is going to give us a brief overview of that.
Yeah, the purpose of this briefing is just to update the commissioners on a scope change of the project that was approved back in 2021, moving the project from a transitional housing focused or type project into emergency shelter type project. There's no monetary change to this type of change. It's just essentially part of this kind of cleanup that you guys have seen us come in and change a couple projects around for those performance metrics. Just a little bit of background. We are funding $2.5 million over 5 years. That ends this year, actually in October. And this is a co-funded project by the city of Spokane. The main issue there with the transitional housing metrics there on the next slide, Ron, is they just don't conform with the process that the Way Out Shelter does things. They obviously do have some better metrics into permanent housing, but they're still an emergency shelter. And so we want to kind of hold them accountable to those metrics. So the point of this briefing today would of course be to amend the project type to emergency shelter. And then of course, we have some changes to the supporting documentation of the contract just to get some more reimbursement basis behind the contract to make sure that they're in line with all the other contracts that we fund. And the last slide is not necessarily to do with this briefing, but I did just want to give a brief update to some of the data that is coming out of the project, which is great for an emergency shelter project. They have some good outcomes into permanent housing. And then these are, of course, emergency shelter specific metrics. We're funding about $56,000 per month to this project. And then another update as well is that we do have continued funding to the Way Out Shelter through 2027 as part of the most recent RFP. Oh, yeah, please.
So basically what you're saying is that when you look at their transitional housing metrics, it doesn't really fit, but it fits more with the shelter.
Yes, ma'am. Transitional housing is
It's
typically
usually more like a year long.
2 years,
Yeah.
1 to 2 year long process. And so while the way out has this really good model of transitioning folks from homelessness into housing, it's not necessarily a transitional housing project. So it's just that nuance of course, it was referred to as a a transitional housing project. So it gets set up that way. Really, when you look at the ones and zeros, it's an emergency shelter project. It's actually a continuous stay emergency shelter project. So there's a little bit more bed specificity to the individual. That's it better metrics wise for us to track it.
Do we have metrics more than just the July, August, September? Like this is a 4-month quarter data slide that you have. Do you have something that's like a full year of data?
Not yet, no. So this would be those emergency shelter focused metrics for when we made that change in HMIS to kind of look at that. They've been a transitional housing project before that, so I can't pull any data that kind of matches those emergency shelter metrics. These are from the most recent contract. Of course, we've got all of the QPR data from HMIS now, so we can present this information, but anything before 7/1 becomes a bit difficult.
Okay, so from now on, we will get this type of data to see. I mean, because their data points are good.
Correct.
I mean, 55% going to permanent housing is an excellent number.
Yeah, especially from emergency shelter, their metrics look great.
And I'll note that their metrics did not look great before the transition to emergency shelter because they were having folks that were going back and forth between emergency and transitional. So blowing up their data and making it look like they weren't performing very well when their outcomes all along have been very good at permanent housing placement. So that's part of just the general cleanup on this.
So when I went and toured several years ago, they had these two setups in the same space. They had kind of emergency beds, and then they had these more enclosed 1-room areas that were more like small private space that they called transitional housing, but you're calling everything now emergency housing.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, emergency shelter. Yeah, imagine walking across that aisle to one
Which is
project.
great, like after you've been there for so long, then you get to move into your own space and have your own privacy, which is really nice. But that's still not, like, you're still not there for more than like 3 to 6.
Yeah, if that, absolutely. Yeah, and so
Then you're going into hopefully a more permanent solution.
exactly. Yeah, you've got it. So walking across that aisle, I would liken that more towards a night by night into a continuous stay shelter, so a little bit more stability, but not an emergency shelter into a transitional housing project.
I think it's a good change, so we can actually get better data.
Questions? Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, let's see, Mike McLaughlin is next up. All right. Right, gonna talk about some precinct changes.
So, Mike McLaughlin and Dosh is gonna do the discussion on this.
Sounds good. Take it away.
So state law sets the maximum active registered voters in a precinct at 1,500. So we reviewed all of the precincts that are getting close to that, specifically all the ones that are over 1,300. And we currently have 4 that are over 1,300, but 2 of those are relatively stable in population. 2 of them are growing in population. So there's 2 precincts, 6016, which has about 1,350 registered voters. It's gained over 200 registered voters in the last 2 years. So we're looking at splitting this one. And then we're also looking at 7301, which is in the city of Deer Park. And that's currently just over 1,500 registered voters. It's gone up over over 340 registered voters in the last 2 years. So we're just looking to split these two precincts basically right down the middle, following a major roadway in that precinct. And then the result is a pretty equal amount of registered voters in both the old original precinct and the new precinct.
Any questions? Seems to make sense.
Okay.
Thank you, thank you.
Thanks.
Not here yet, I think.
Okay. You wanna handle,
Quickly,
you wanna handle it on your own, or can you do it without Amicio?
I can,
It's going around, I hope.
do my best.
Okay. All right, well, take it away. This is the lease agreement. It's the first item.
Yes, we're desiring to release our office space. There's another office that is also going to be vacant that we're looking at adding once it becomes vacant. Jim's incorporated that all into the lease agreement. It's basically a 10-year lease with 2 5-year options to renew. It's based on the I think it's a CPI rate adjusted annually every year. And I guess it needs to be advertised 3 times in the paper. So that's kind of the reason we're trying to get this going now, so it's all finished up by April. And from the weed board standpoint, other than like anybody else that's leasing anything, the lease costing too much, that's just the way it is. And we'd like to stay in that building. It works well for us. We're, I don't want to say rural anymore, but it is just a good place for us to be, and helps us with parking and everything else for landowners to be able to come in and meet with us and such. So I guess that was about it. Happy to try to answer any questions.
Any questions?
You'll see there's different rental rates because some of it's office space, some of it's storage space, there's different rates. Jim was working on it.
Odds are I probably won't be here in 20 years when I have to do this again. And with that building in 20 years, you might have to pay us to lease it. Who knows?
Everything will be done by hologram.
Yeah, there you go.
Nobody will leave their homes anyway.
So you're building a little more extra space because I know.
Yeah, with our
your goal
expanded.
was to have some new staff, right?
Yeah, with our expanded assessment, and actually we're.
How's that going?
Yeah,
Getting some new
it's
stuff.
good. We have a couple newer full-time people that we added a little sooner than we expected. That's the reasoning for some of the on what's next on the agenda. Real well, I'm sure you'll be hearing some things in the next year that we're developing and doing. And it's we're adapting moving forward.
All right.
Sounds good.
Okay, thank you.
Next one is still that.
I know, yep. We've got the interfund loan from Spokane County to the Spokane County Noxious Weed Control Board.
This is an item that Dave and I have been working on together. We've also been working with this issue with the Budget and Finance Office. When Mr. Munt came in and presented to you his 2026 budget, the letter or the correspondence where he requested your approval of the budget indicated that he would more than likely have to have a loan in 2026. And the reason he'd have to have a loan is because he had a reserve fund, but he spent all the money in the reserve fund. And as the board knows, the Noxious Weed Control Board is funded by an assessment. And the assessment is countywide, and it's paid at the same time the property owner pays his property taxes, if you will. And of course, that would mean that Dave's funding, for the most part, comes in April, the end of April and the end of October each year. So because the Noxious Weed Control Board doesn't have sufficient funds to pay their operating expenses until the first half of the property taxes are paid, the Noxious Weed Board initially requested a loan from the skip pool. And until Dave and I explored that, the Noxious Weed Control Board does not have the legal authority to borrow money from the skip pool. The general rule of law, which everyone follows, to include the Attorney General's office, is in order for an entity to borrow money from the skip pool, it must have statutory authority to borrow funds. And in this case, the Weed Board doesn't. But the statute setting up the Weed Board basically says that the county commissioners can provide funding from the general fund for the Weed Board to operate. And under that authority, I have prepared a resolution in which there would be an interfund loan from the county general fund to the Weed Board fund. And initially, Mr. Munt had suggested that he would need $75,000 as the interfund loan, but he fine-tuned that down to $40,000. So I have prepared a resolution which would provide for an interfund loan from the general fund to the appropriate Weed Board fund in the amount of $40,000. The interest rate which we would charge in this loan is the United States fund interest rate plus 1%. And so the treasurer's office calculated that for me, and that is 4.47%. This particular interfund loan would be paid by one payment, if you will, and that payment is going to be made sometime in May. So the reason we're here today is to share with you that we are requesting that the Board of County Commissioners take action on a resolution I prepared, which provides for an interfund loan of $40,000 payable on February 16th to the Weed Board. The interest rate that they would reimburse the board is 4.47%. And as I say, I did work with the interim CEO, and I think Mr. McMorris agrees that we have money in the general fund, and he's supporting the execution of this document.
We also looked at, want to make sure it wasn't an ongoing issue in future years, but with the assessment increase, it shouldn't be an issue. It should be a one-time.
Oh, it will be a one-time thing.
Unless the board has any questions, that's my presentation, and I will be placing this on next Tuesday's legislative consent agenda for formal action. And you'll see in the resolution, which is part of the civic clerk today, that this resolution can be signed in counterparts by the Weed Board, because the resolution and the signature by both parties forms the contract, if you will, or the promissory note.
Okay. The documents also say this is a one-time request, so.
Yep. Yeah.
All right,
Okay.
any questions? Good,
Thank you very much, board members.
thank you.
Appreciate it.
All right, Colin Charbonneau. Got a City of Cheney ED agreement.
Morning.
Morning.
This is an agreement that we discussed a few weeks ago. So I will try to make it short and sweet, and then you get the other people. But I'm happy to answer any questions or expand upon anything you want to. Essentially, we've offered to do a favor for the county of Spokane and for Cheney. District Court approached us that there's been an issue ongoing for quite some time, actually, that people arrested and housed in the Spokane County Jail sometimes facing charges from Cheney Municipal Court. We do not represent, obviously, those folks. We do not assign those cases within our office. And Cheney was not sending any lawyers to appear for those individuals on first appearance. So those people that are facing charges in Cheney were coming before a district court judge with no lawyer. It's a critical stage, as I'm sure this board is well aware. And at that stage, The judge is deciding whether or not to release that individual, so whether or not to set a bond. They're deciding release conditions, what restrictions they may have if they're released. And they're deciding whether or not there's probable cause for the charge to begin with, and they're doing that without a lawyer present. So I think there was significant risk and liability to district court for not having an individual present there. Don't know why Cheney never sent anyone or contracted with anyone or reached out to us to do it, but they didn't. So Judge Johnson, who's now presiding district court, reached out to me and said, hey, your guys are there anyway, which is true. We cover first appearances in district court. They're literally sitting around watching this happen. Some of them even would like to help out, but are unable to. It's not a case that we represent the individual. So it would not be an issue for our office to do. We've discussed the details. Thanks to Mr. Amacio, who's been pivotal in getting the contract work negotiated and compensation set. So essentially, we will provide that. It sounds like it's about, correct me if I'm wrong, about 80 people a year, roughly. We are there on the docket anyway. It will not affect caseload standards. It will provide, although limited, some revenue to the county as well. So it seemed like a win-win for everybody. No additional effort for us other than those individual client meetings. But again, we're sitting on that docket in that courtroom, regardless of whether or not we help out Cheney. So the proposal is to do that. I believe it renews annually.
That is
So,
correct.
yeah, so if there's any adjustments that need to be made, we can certainly do that. And if it obviously doesn't work for us, we give them 90 days notice and we can opt out. Or for some reason it becomes excessive, but historically it's been about 80 people.
So Colin was very good in coming up with the cost associated with providing this. He looked at the actual services dealing with first appearance. He determined the total number of minutes associated with each. Then we took the salary of the attorney that would be handling it, broke it down by the hourly amount, and we will be charging a certain amount of money based on the time that the deputy appearing in first appearance document spends on it. And it's frankly, it's really a de minimis amount, but we think we need to charge that because we also provide public vendor services for the city of the Valley. And in their agreement, it basically says no one gets a better deal, if you will, than they're getting. So we were very careful to not run afoul of that language.
So what happens after the first appearance then?
They go to Cheney Municipal Court to deal with their case. So apparently Cheney has assigned a lawyer, but they're not appearing. And don't ask me how that works. I think that's unethical and unconstitutional. I don't know why they're not appearing at a critical stage in the criminal process, but.
Because the first appearance happens here,
Right.
and then the rest of the case will be heard.
Out in Cheney.
Okay.
Yep, not our issue.
Okay, so this is just for the first appearance, and it's an hourly rate that you've negotiated.
Yeah, and it should take probably anywhere from about 10 minutes to about 30 to 40 minutes, depending on the situation. They're basically going to review probable cause, which is a brief statement, especially in district court. And then they'll look at release conditions. They'll talk to the client. Is there anything that I should know so I can tell the court that might benefit or change release conditions or bond? They'll make the argument. Again, they're there anyway. And then the court decides what to do as far as release conditions, and then it's out of district court in Cheney. Thanks, everyone.
Board members, this too will be on next Tuesday's legislative consent agenda for your action. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, that brings us to miscellaneous matters. Commissioner Waldriff, the resolution you mentioned earlier about foundational public health.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. So thanks to Matt Folsom for putting this resolution together. Commissioner Keenan and I asked for this to be placed before us for consideration, and it mimics the resolution that the Board of Health adopted unanimously last week. It's just in our template rather than the Board of Health's template. Key points are that the foundational public health is the main state funding source for the Spokane Regional Health District. And it funds major services there in 4 categories. So the health district can kind of choose those categories that it goes to fund. The governor's proposed 2026 supplemental budget included a $29 million reduction statewide on top of the 12 million that was adopted last year. So that's a concern. And there's a projected $21 million shortfall in the account related to that vape tax being reallocated to unintentionally to the general fund. So 29 million might have been something that hopefully the legislature could work on reducing that proposal in the governor's budget. But the $21 million shortfall already in the account is the huge problem. So it would be a nearly 40% total reduction in all of the state funds to public health local agencies. So for the health district gets about almost $6 million a year, and it would cut that by 2 million. That would be about, you know, the 40%, give or take. It depends on what funds it goes into and what projects. So that's the concern. We're already, the health district's already gonna have to make some reductions because of that shortfall. That was, you know, that's already there in this biennium. So we don't wanna make any more because again, this could push the burden onto local governments, and we don't have those dollars. We're projecting a shortfall in our budget this year too. So that's the concern. So the Washington State public health officials asked that jurisdictions pass resolutions stating our concerns, and that's what this is.
Okay, and this is on our agenda. It's item 4E. Yep. And 4E. Okay. Yeah. There's no objections to that. We'll move on. All right, media press releases, proclamations. Samantha Lou.
Thank you. Since the last time that we met, we had a news release that SCRAPS reopened adult dog adoptions. The parvovirus outbreak was not only contained but eradicated. Great work done by the staff and by Ronnie. Also, weight restrictions will be coming soon to some Spokane County roads. Weather has been very mild, the ground is softening up, and heavy trucks and trailers can chew up a road surface in the subgrades. So we sent a news release advising people these are going to be coming soon. Also, the Parshall County special election. I have not received any word on proclamations. If you have any high school teams that might be lining up for special recognition, I'd appreciate knowing. No? All right, that's it.
Wow.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, any other miscellaneous items? We have been joined by Commissioner CUNY. Commissioner CUNY, anything for miscellaneous? Okay. All right. Okay, oh, and actually, I did have one. I was reminded, so I know we're several months out. The Lilac Parade, someone brought it up because I guess they have the parade itself has been kind of shrunk, the route, the city shrunk that, I guess, for costs of security and police on scene. And just wanted to make, so I know we get an entrance in that, and Commissioner CUNY, just wanted to make sure you were going to be there to represent us.
We'll have to look at the date. I don't know what the date is.
I don't.
They haven't, in the last couple of years, they have not reached out to us, so
Okay.
it's been interesting. So we may check with the Lilac Parade officials to see if they're gonna have us be in it.
Okay, all right, we'll have somebody reach out to them. So, because I think that the chair gets a spot, so want to make sure we're represented there and they're not shorting us.
Yeah,
All
just, yeah, we just need to find out, yeah, from them.
The date is May 16th.
May 16th. Yeah, we'll reach out and make sure that that we have a spot secured.
Okay, great.
All right, any other miscellaneous items? Going once, okay. All right, well then that does it for everything on our printed agenda and miscellaneous. I believe we do have some executive session items.
Have no update on any parades, but we do have 3 executive session items.
Okay.
The first one is pending and potential litigation, approximately 10 minutes, no action at the end. Matt Folsom, Jeff McMorris, Nate Gwynn, Jordan Neal, and Kyle Tuig. The second one is performance of a public employee, approximately 30 minutes, again, no action. Matt Folsom, Jeff McMorris, Devin Curda, Ashley Cloud, Josh Grote, Mike Sparber, Victoria Bloomhorst. And final is a short 5-minute pending and potential litigation, no action. Jeff McMorris, Matt Folsom, Devin Curda.
Okay, we will be going into executive session for approximately 45 minutes. No decisions will be made while in executive session. We'll be going in for the reasons stated by our chief civil deputy. At the conclusion of those executive sessions, we will adjourn for the morning and we will reconvene this afternoon for our 2 o'clock legislative meeting. See you later.